I am so happy to have my cousin, Diedra Bell, with us today. Hey, Diedra, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Catherine?
So it's great to have you. And one of the things is you guys who have listened before, I try to deal with every aspect of finances. And one of the biggest things that people have to pay for is college. And so my cousin just has this wonderful interest and passion about helping people get money for their kids' college. So let's just start right there. Where did that come from? Why did you start researching getting funds for college?
Well, I didn't realize that there was a lot of information out there until Josh was about fourth grade. And he, I think it was when I found out that he had done really well on this kind of a PSAT test. And when I saw those scores and saw that he had, his grade levels were comparable to like high school and middle school, I knew that it was going to take more on my part to kind of get him ready. And so I started looking for enrichment programs. And I started to see that there was so much out there. And from there, I would find information and I would share it with friends and family. And one day was encouraged by a good friend to start a Facebook page and just kind of so I could have a platform where I could share the information. And so I did that, and it's now going on 3 years since I started my group page. It's called Parents of Minority High Schoolers Bridging the Gap. And so, yeah, I shared a lot of information out there because I know that there's so many people like me, like you, who could benefit from that information because college is very, very expensive.
So you said Josh. So for our
Mhm.
listeners, Josh is your son.
Yes.
You said he did really well on some testing
Hmm.
back when he was in fourth grade. So you
Right.
said you were looking for enrichment programs. Can you just explain a little bit to us about what an enrichment program is and why that's
Sure.
important?
Yeah, sure. An enrichment program could be like there are many colleges that offer summer programs. It could be a coding um, program. It could be a robotics program. For Josh, I we started with STEM programs, and those are programs that really kind of give your child some kind of early exposure to whatever the topic is. If it's STEM, they're going to get a chance to meet some experts in that field and get a chance to see what they do. And it really enables your child to get kind of firsthand knowledge, and sometimes it might pique some interest, and that was the case with Josh.
Okay, and so you said STEM,
Mhm.
so science, technology, engineering, arts, and that's STEAM, science,
Mhm.
technology, engineering, and math.
Math, yes.
So did you see something in him? You said he had scored high on those tests. Was
Yes.
were they really high math scores? Was it just overall like
Overall, they were math. Excuse me, they were high in all areas. However, I could really see that he had an interest. I'll just say that he fared well in math and science, and I felt that he was kind of headed in that track. So I tried to find enrichment programs that were geared towards the STEM field.
okay, all right. So
Mhm.
you were paying attention to his scores, you saw kind of what his interests were, and then
Right,
you sought out programs that would help and enrich him in those areas. So
right.
when those types of programs, are those normally free? Like what was your experience when you were looking for those programs?
Great question, Catherine. The NASA program actually was a free program, and it was through his school district at the time. He was attending elementary and for part of the time in DeKalb County. And so it was a wonderful program, but yes, it was free. Many of the programs that Josh participated in were either free The cost was minimal.
The cost was minimal. Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So then, you said, you told us a little bit about how you got started in that. And then you said you would share it with other people. And so you said your friend suggested that you do a page. Why was that important for you?
Well, she suggested that because she saw that I was always sharing information, and she said, you know what, more people need to get this information. More people need access to this information, and so it was just a way to kind of put it um, there so that I didn't have to. It made it easier actually for me because I didn't have to keep emailing or texting people. I could put it in one place. People could read it, and whatever applies to their child, they can click on it and, and hopefully apply and receive scholarships. That was really the goal. But
Okay.
yeah, I tend to put information about not just scholarships, but also enrichment programs, as well as test prep information. Whenever I hear of a free test prep, um, normally it's like every now and then you might see that a company is offering like one administration of a free test prep. I try to offer those programs. As much information about SAT and ACT, I try to offer that information because, of course, now most people are talking about test optional. And I want people to understand that although colleges are, going test optional, it still is to their advantage to have their child sit for a few of those exams, if possible, at least one of those exams a couple of times, because that's how you can get a lot of the scholarships if you do take ACT or SAT.
Okay, yeah, because I know I've heard that a lot of schools are making that optional, but that's
Mhm.
good to know. So you still need to take that because their
Yes,
scholarships are based on, is it still based on the score?
yes. Hmm.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
So that's really good information to know to go ahead and have them do that. So I'm going to
yeah.
back up just a little bit and then we'll come back here. So when you
Mhm.
were putting Josh in those enrichment programs, did you have to drag him kicking and screaming? Was he excited to go? How did that part go?
Good question. Just about all of them, I had to really encourage him to go because he did not want to go. Because oftentimes they're over the summer. I
Okay.
don't think he did any over spring break, but most were over the summer. And as he got older and was doing football, he wanted to be able to be present for his football practices. But I had to remind him that his number one job is his education. Football is secondary. And just let me throw this in here, all that football, he's year two of college and he's not playing football. So um, don't let sports be your, uh, it could be their first love. However, parents, we want to emphasize that education, we want to push that first because you don't know if your child will play college um, sports. You just
That's
don't know
right.
if they'll be recruited. There's no guarantee is the message I'm trying to send.
Right, no guarantee. And so, take us a little bit through Joshua's journey because we know he's in these enrichment programs. We
Hmm.
know that you're making him go even during high school. So,
Hmm.
how did you start to get money for him? Was it just you guys applying, or what was that process like?
Yeah, that's a good question. I try to make sure that he attended enrichment programs at universities because, of course, that would put him on their radar.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so I made sure that he attended a camp at University of Alabama. It was a STEM camp. Now that is the only camp that I paid for, and that was I think $850. However, the outcome was when I picked him up, he said that he was sure that he wanted to major in mechanical engineering. and that he learned that he could get certified as a mechanical engineer and make more money. And so from that program, I think is where he had his epiphany. He thanked me for making him go. And the rest is history. He's in his sophomore year at Mercer University, majoring in mechanical engineering.
Wow, that's exceptional. And for him to have to know, like, I know he didn't want to go during the summertime, but for
No,
him
not
to
at all.
realize that that was a benefit, and thank you for making him go. Like, what a blessing that was. And so he went to that program, he gets his epiphany, he knows he wants to be a mechanical engineer. So then how did you all make the decision which college he would attend?
Great question. University of Alabama was his number one college, and he actually he applied and was accepted. This is going to sound unbelievable, but he found out the next day that he was accepted into the University of Alabama, their engineering school. And I really believe that it is because he did that. He participated in their summer program. I think it was called SITE, SITE. And so, although that was his first, his number one school, they did not give him enough money. And so, of course, it was disappointing, but it was a reality check for us, because that's how it works in a college game. They're going to offer you a specific amount of money, and you have to remember that that money that they're offering is based on each year. So 40,000 might sound like a lot, but that's 40,000 for the 4 years that they will be in attendance at that university. And so as he started to receive his acceptance letters, he did receive a lot of money. Yeah, but it was close to $1 million that he received in scholarships. However, that was based on all of the universities that he applied to. And once he received his financial aid award from the University of, Mercer University, he made his decision to attend Mercer. And I will be honest, it was based solely on, well, I'm not going to say solely on, because Mercer University has a great reputation. However, the great incentive was that they were offering him so much money, and that it would make it easier for us as a family, and I wouldn't have to get all these loans and all this stuff, which was something that I was determined that I would not do, because I have my own college debt.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so let's talk about college debt a little bit. I think that's a great point. University of Alabama was his number one choice, but that they just didn't offer as much money. So Joshua made the decision, even though University of Alabama was his first choice, that he understood that Mercer was paying more money.
Yes.
And you were saying, for your own family, you as an adult still have your own college debt. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I remember when I went through with work study and Pell Grants, and I know those programs have been cut quite a bit. And then my last year of college, my mom made like a little bit more money than she had made before. So I didn't qualify for a lot of those programs, and I had to get a loan. And for me, I made that decision where I'm in my last year. I'm not going to let this stop me. I'm going to go ahead and pay for it. But back then, I could do it myself. I could get the loan was in my name. But that's not the way it's done anymore, right? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the schools will offer, of course, based on your estimated financial contribution, the EFC. And of course, this is when you do the FAFSA. They'll determine your EFC, and that will determine what you're eligible for as far as Pell Grant is concerned. And student loans. And when I say student loans, those are the government student loans, okay? They're
Mhm.
gonna always offer you generally about $5,000. That's for the student, right? And so if you need more than that, then that's going to be the requirement of the parent. And that's why oftentimes parents end up getting the Parent Plus loan because, of course, oftentimes $5,000 per semester, and it could be a little bit more depending on the school, but that's oftentimes not enough money. Now, with the University of Alabama, because we were out of state, the tuition was going to be 52,000. It's actually about the same as Mercer. However, they were with what they were providing, Josh, it would still have left us with about $28,000 per year. That's per year that I would have to pay. And I tried to impress upon Josh the importance of trying to find a school that was affordable for the family. Of course, I didn't want him to choose just any school.
Mhm.
I really wanted him to go to an HBCU. I really did.
Mhm.
However, he just didn't receive enough funding.
Okay.
And I just had to be realistic. You had to have that, you know, that wake up call. Yeah, it would be wonderful. However, got to think about, I'm a single um, woman and I had to think about, tomorrow.
Right.
And yeah, fortunately, Josh is a very, I would say, is pretty practical, and so he made his mind up without my. I didn't have to nudge him on that, but it was understood what the expectation was.
Okay. And I think that is a great, you said he's practical. And when we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about money, I think that's a great conversation that you have to have.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about finances,
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge expense for many people. As you said, you're
Mm-hmm.
still paying for yours. There are millions of people who are still in student loan debt, and it
Mm-hmm.
becomes a noose around your neck in many cases where you
Yes.
can't do the things you want to do because you're paying off this debt.
Yes.
So I just think that, there are parents who will sacrifice, and that's no dig on anyone who makes that sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think it was a wise decision for you all to go in with your eyes open, like, hey, this is, and I love that you said it several times. We had to make a decision for the family.
Right.
And now if he wants to go off and do some things on his own,
Mm-hmm.
when he can afford it, that's great. But I
Right.
love that. And he's still getting a quality education from a
Right.
quality school. And one of the
Mm-hmm.
things you just mentioned is it being in state. So,
Yes.
you're also getting a break there. All of those
Yes.
things make financial sense. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
hoping that, parents who are out there are listening to that and being okay having that conversation with your child, like,
Yeah.
look, this is what it is,
Mm-hmm.
because I know
Yes.
sometimes we're like, no, my baby needs to go to such a, and if you can afford that, that's great. But
Mm-hmm.
I like also you saying, hey, this is what it is, this is what we can do, and you guys make a decision based
Mm-hmm.
on that.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit, because I remember you telling me at one point about Joshua doing his his testing, and how one point on one of his tests made a huge difference. Can you
Yes.
just talk to our audience about that?
Yeah, this was on the ACT. Um, Starting early is very important um, to our parents that are listening. Starting early is key. Um, Josh started taking the ACT in the 10th grade. Okay. You don't want to wait and have your child take it as a junior or the summer before their senior year because they're not going to know what to expect and they won't have time to prepare for it. So he started in the 10th grade. I think he received a 25. He took it again. I think he got a 28. Those scores are actually pretty good for,
Mhm.
you know, for a sophomore. Um, but we knew that he needed to keep taking it. And so it was when he took um, the ACT I think it was the summer before his senior year. He did it one more time, maybe that June or something. And he ended up getting a 30. And once he got a 30, we started receiving so much interest, or he started receiving interest from universities. And what they'll do is they'll send you information about the college and, you know, and how much money you could receive and all that. And it made a huge difference, just 1 point. It was really eye-opening. But when I say 1 point, 1 point could be a difference of like $7,000. I don't remember the exact amount, but it's thousands of dollars. So each point matters.
Okay, wow.
Hmm.
So you start receiving all of that interest, and then you just have more dollars to work with and
Yes,
more options. So how is that? I know that that also applies to grade point average. So can you tell us a
yes.
little bit about that too?
Sure, that's a good question. I want to make sure I say this first because I want parents to understand that from my experience, that magic number seems to be a 3.5. If you can get your child to have a 3.5 or higher, that is going to give you more bargaining power. And that will definitely equate to more money. You want to make sure that they can, if possible, have a 3.5. Now, Josh had a 3.3, but because of his test scores, that is what helped. That made a big difference for him. So oftentimes it's either GPA or really high test scores. Now, I'm not going to say that if you have really high test scores and a low GPA that you will have a chance. No, that's not what I'm saying. Josh had a 3.3, not considered low, but not high, right?
Mm-hmm.
But him having that 30 on the ACT is really what made a big difference. But from what I noticed as I was doing my research, many of the universities, those presidential scholarships and things that they offer is usually for kids who have at least a 3.5 and up. And from what I remember, those are the students that they are offering those full rides to. And so you definitely want to make sure that, especially if your child is not in high school yet, you want to make sure that you have that magic number in your mind, 3.5 and up, because that is definitely going to put your child in a good place to receive either a full ride or almost a full ride, which will be less of a responsibility on you. And that's the goal,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely my goal. And
yeah.
so I tease my kids and I'm like, okay, what do you need to get? And they be like a full ride.
Exactly.
So that's definitely something that I've been pushing.
Yes.
And
And
helping
I'm
them.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Can I add something?
Hmm.
Let me make this point because this is something that I didn't know. Your child will be offered a certain amount of scholarships per year, right? But
Hmm.
what I did not know, or I will say it's not that I didn't know, it didn't. Hmm, how can I put this? It didn't dawn on me that
Hmm.
yes, this college is offering all of this money, right? I'm
Hmm.
speaking of Mercer University. However, there are requirements that have to be met in order for you to continue receiving that money.
Okay.
So what
Okay. And
that
so,
means is if there's a GPA requirement, if they say your child must maintain a 3.0 in order for them to continue receiving that money, guess what? They have to receive that 3.0 every year. And if they don't, they lose funding.
okay. All right.
Yes,
So it's not just enough to do well in high school to get the funds. You got to continue your academic rigor and studies and things of that nature to
right,
keep it.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. And what you know, I would say parents and students don't understand is that college is way different than high school. So you can have a student that has excelled, you know, from elementary up to high school. However, when they get to college and they are presented with that rigorous course load, it is not an easy task to be able to manage all of that. And so unless you have a child that is super duper organized, it's going to be a challenge. My child is not super duper organized. And so it was definitely a struggle for him. And it continues to be challenging because he is majoring in mechanical engineering. So his course load, like I'll give you an example, like this semester, he's taking 5 engineering classes, no general ed classes, Nisi. Remember when we were in college and you could choose your classes. I think I'll take a psychology class and a humanities class, and then maybe I'll throw in two of my major classes, right? No, that's not how it works. They tell them what they can they have a list, they have options. However, for some reason, he didn't have to take a general ed class, so it's all engineering classes. And guess what? If he does not meet the GPA requirements, he will lose some of his scholarship, and that has happened already. Yeah, and it's like you kind of have to have a come to Jesus moment as a parent with your child, like, okay, this is the number that I had in my mind. And because you weren't able to, and it's not necessarily keep up the agreement, because oftentimes it's not that the kids are not trying.
Right.
It's just hard, right?
It's tough, right?
Yeah. But for Josh, it was him learning how to advocate for himself and make sure that he is in constant communication with his professors. If there's something that they're saying that he didn't turn in, making sure that he's advocating, hey, Professor such and such, I turned in this assignment. And also knowing when he is really struggling that, okay, I've got to go to these study sessions and I've got to do whatever I have to do. I feel pretty confident that he understands now what he needs to do. And he has been able to do his part. However, I mean, he did, like I said, after first year, he did lose some funding. And so parents really have to understand that that money that they're offered, you have to kind of think about what if my child can't maintain this GPA? What are our options? Okay. Because you don't, as a parent, you don't want to just say, okay, well, I'm going to take you out. Right. If you know that your kid has been really trying.
Yeah.
But you do have to know that money is, it's an agreement that that your child makes with the university, that or the whatever organization is offering those scholarships. It's saying, hey, I am committing that I will maintain this GPA throughout my college career.
Okay, so that's a great point. Thank you for stopping to make that. So the money is contingent on the grades that you continue to make. And again, I think it's a great holistic way of looking at what may happen. We all know that, sometimes, you just are not focused and or you are really trying and it's just tough. So how, what are the resources that I have to help me through this process? How do I continue, to stay on the path to reaching my goal? So I thank you for saying that, because that's just that's just real. That's just real what the kids, what they're facing. And so I know that my daughter is a part of a program here called AVID, and it helps them with the process of getting into college, going through that testing, that kind of thing, and helping them to learn how to study and those kinds of things. And so me and her had a difference of opinion on that program, because she was in it she's in it in middle school. She's in the 8th grade and getting ready to go to 9th grade. And she was like, oh, I don't think I want to. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm hearing other parents at the orientation, like, can I get my kid into Avid? And I'm like, wait a minute. And so she was like, well, it's just like a little extra work. And I'm like, no, sorry. I had to pull one of those parent moves. Like,
Yes.
I'm sorry, this is going to benefit you from
Yes.
just what I understand about it. This is a benefit. And if nothing else, it'll teach you how to get ready for college. And
Right.
so, there was some hurt feelings and whatnot, but she's still in that program. And
Yes.
so
You
as
made
we,
an executive decision.
I had to, I
Kids
had
don't know
to,
what's best for them.
I
And so
had
you have to push sometimes.
yeah, yeah. And I've been I think I've been, because I have you as a cousin telling me the things, the enrichment programs to get them a part of. And so she is a part of some of those things. She's big into sports. But we will, also have that conversation, closer to like, hey, I would love for you to get, to be recruited and get a full ride to college. I was like, but you know what I've talked to, there's a gentleman that goes to my church who's a recruiter for a college. He's like, kids, they have this fantasy of kind of what it's going to be, but being an athlete in college is also tough, because now on top of your studies, you got to be in workout and all of that kind of stuff. So I just
Yes.
think it's great for parents to really have that well-rounded conversation with their kids. I do have a question. My son, his teacher, he's in the 6th grade, sent me an email and she was like, okay, we think he needs to be in next year, he needs to be in 8th grade math. And so he seems to be, the teacher is telling me that he's ready. But what if you have a child that seems to do okay, they're meeting their grade level? Are you supposed to push them into like trying to get into AP courses? Like, what is your suggestion?
Each child is different. But I would say if if Camden's teacher is saying she feels that he's ready, definitely push him, because the earlier that he could start going, let's say that get on that accelerated math track, is going to make it so much easier for him. I'll use an example. Josh's last class in his last math class was pre-calculus, right? And he's a mechanical engineering major, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the kids that he started school with had already taken calculus or AP statistics or AP calculus. So even though he was able to go right into a college calculus class, and let me emphasize this, it was based on his ACT scores. That's the only reason why he was able to start in college calculus, because again, he had not taken calculus in high school, but his math score on the ACT is what made him eligible. But I will say that calculus class was extremely hard for him. And I do believe that had he taken calculus in high school, it would have been a lot easier. So for Camden, he'll get a chance to get started early. And so you figure if he starts, if she's saying 8th grade math, I'm not sure how it works in Minnesota, but it's probably algebra,
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming, which
Mm-hmm.
means that in 9th grade, he'll be taking algebra 2 or geometry. Not sure what the
Mm-hmm.
track is there, but you figure he'll probably take algebra in 8th grade, algebra, then algebra 2 in 9th grade,
Mm-hmm.
and then geometry in 10th grade, pre-cal in 11th grade, calculus in 12th grade. Now, if he's really on an accelerated track, you guys might feel that he's ready to take an AP math class. Now,
Okay.
of course, those are ideal because they give your child an extra point towards their GPA. And if they score well on the AP exam, which you do have to pay for, it's about, I think about $90 or $100. But if he does score at least, it depends on the university,
Mhm.
A 3 on up, but some colleges require 4, then he'll get college credit. Excuse me.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
which is good, because that's
Oh, yeah.
also a money savings, right? Because if
Oh,
you've
yeah,
already
because
done it in
Josh,
high school.
yeah, because
Mhm.
Josh was able to forego one of his, I guess, humanities classes because of the AP World History class that he took and did and passed the test
And did well.
for. Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful. So, I just want to reiterate to our listeners to go and visit Deidra's page on Facebook, and all of that information will be in the show notes for you, all the links. And there's great information there. You can, like she said, enrichment programs, different scholarships. I've
Right.
seen where she sent, hey, if your kid is in this state, you got until this time to apply for that scholarship. So it's a wealth of information in that one place for you. So Diedra, as we get ready to close, I want to talk to you a little bit about what you're doing now. And so tell us a little bit about what's going to happen on April 30th there for you.
Okay. Before I say that, can I please mention this?
Yes.
College is not for everyone. On my page, I share information about apprenticeships. I just recently posted about an Atlanta coding program for women that are interested in the IT field. It's a tuition-free college, and they're guaranteed a job. I've posted information about electricians, people that are interested in the automotive service. And I want to emphasize that not everybody is interested in going to a four-year university, and we need all of those other people, right? We can't function without those electricians and those mechanics and those welders, right? And those construction workers. So even if your child is not that child that wants to go to a university, I still not offer, I'm sorry, but I share information for people like that, because everybody's not going to go on that track, right?
Right.
That 4-year university track. Everybody's not. And you may have a child that will start on that track and then change his or her mind, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to go
No,
ahead and.
so I just want to say, like, that's the spirit, right? I'm so glad you said that,
Mhm.
because especially when you think about student loan debt, and not that a child won't go to school just because of the debt, but there might be a child that has to take an alternative path
Right.
because of finances. And if you don't go to school, I just want to make sure people are here. If you don't go that 4-year college track, there are tons of other options.
Oh, yeah.
So that is just I'm just so glad that you brought that up. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to call that
There are
out.
definitely options out there for you. I don't want people to feel like that if you don't go to a four-year university. I know that people feel that it's kind of have a stigma if you decide to do the 2-year route. But there should not be a stigma, because it's definitely cost effective, and
Yeah.
you can still um, you can accomplish the same thing. It's just going to be a less expensive.
Mhm.
I just saw a lady yesterday, a young lady, and I was encouraging her to do the community college, to go on that track. And I said, you just have to be focused, because
Yeah.
oftentimes kids, I know when I did a community college, not everybody is focused. So you stay
Mhm.
focused, do what you have to do, and most likely you'll be able to get some money so that you can finish your 4-year degree.
Yeah, and quick story, and then we'll go into what's
Mhm.
happening on April 30th. My husband is in construction, and he talks about, I'm not sure if it's a coworker or someone he knows who went the track of learning how to do construction. And so he says, like, all the kids that he went to high school with that went through college and the whole 9 yards. I know this is anecdotal, this is his
Mhm.
particular case, but
Mhm.
his income exceeds theirs, and they are all saddled with student loan debt that he
Yeah.
does not have to pay for. And so he was able to buy a house at a very young age, where a lot of them are kind of holding off and all of that because of the debt. So, I mean, I say whatever you feel you're called to, get in that vein, get on that path and pursue it with all that you have.
Right.
That's what I say to that. All right. So tell us what's going on April 30th, and why is that important for you?
Okay. Well, I've partnered with the Positive Arts Movement, and it is a youth program that really focuses on arts and social change. And this program and I have partnered together, and we're going to put on 2 events on April 30th. The first one is a brunch. It's for women and young ladies, and it's called the Beauty Within. And it's really an interactive brunch. It's a way to kind of celebrate women. Of course, it's Women's History Month this month, but we want to go into April still celebrating women. And we're going to kind of do some fun things. We're going to have some music. We're going to have a contest. We're hoping that women will bring a young lady that either is related to them, or maybe someone they mentor, or someone that they think could benefit from being around some strong women. And we're just gonna sit and just have a good time. We're gonna have a poet there. We're gonna have like it's a brunch, so of course we're gonna eat. And the proceeds from this event will be going towards a memorial fund that I've set up in my mother's honor, Brenda Faye Perkins. And the goal is to raise money so that we can help a child, or hopefully children, go to college with a little less debt. And there's also going to be a second event, and we're calling that Back to Life. You know, through this pandemic, we all have kind of been, some still stuck in the house, right? They keep saying the outside is open. So the goal is that we can get people out and kind of get out of their shell and come out and celebrate with us. There'll be dancing, we'll have some entertainment, and I forgot to say, for the brunch, there'll be vendors there as well. But we just want to have some good, clean fun, and also try and raise some money for this scholarship fund for my mom. My mom, Brenda Faye Perkins, did not attend college. However, she did start, but life happened and it kind of took her on a different path. And but although she did not know a whole lot about college, she did find people in her life that could help us get into college. She had people reviewing our essays and, kind of helping us with the financial aid, paperwork. And so she was there. She was very supportive. And so that's why I really wanted to set up a scholarship fund in my mother's honor, to help, like I said, a child go to college. Like I said, right, we're in the early stages, so I don't know how much we're going to raise for the scholarship, but the proceeds will be going towards that Memorial Scholarship Fund.
And where is this event located, or the dual events? Where is that located?
Yes, we're gonna, it'll be conducted in Peachtree Corners. It's in Georgia. I know many of you may not live in Georgia, but the event space is called 22 and the number 8. And I'll make sure, Catherine, that you have the information about how they can, the Eventbrite page, where they can get information about how to register. And also, if there are people out there who just want to donate towards the scholarship fund, there'll be information provided on how they can do that. And even if you don't live in Georgia, if you just want to come down to Georgia for that weekend, for that event, we'd love to have you. Again, the event is on April 30th. And we plan to have some good fun and celebrate great women and great men as well. And hopefully raise some money at the same time.
That is wonderful. April 30th, 2022. And you said Petrie Corners, 228?
The name of the event space is 22 and the word 8.
8. Okay.
Yes.
And like Diedra said, I will have all that information in the show notes for you, and also a link if you just want to contribute to the Brenda Faye Perkins Scholarship Fund. Brenda Faye Perkins was my auntie, my mom's sister. And so I obviously will be donating, but I just think it's a great cause, because our mothers, none of them went to, they may have started, but none of them went to college. But there are so many of us now, because of the work that they did, the path that they had to take during that time, that we were able to go to college and made sure that we went to college. And so I know that Auntie Bren is just proud of you for starting this in her name. And so I just ask that you all, if this is something that you like to do, please look at the link and make sure that you give. So Diedra, this is also an affirmation space, finance and affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
And so what would you say? I was going to say, what would you say to a child that's trying to go to college? But I want you to speak to a mama like you, or a dad like you. What would you say to encourage them and affirm them, and how to help their child reach the potential, the goal that they have after they leave high school?
Yeah. Let me just first say, as a mother, we are so hard on ourselves. And so I would just first of all say, you are doing it. You are making it happen for your family, whether or not you're a single mom or you're married. It's still a lot of work. We all have made mistakes. We're going to continue to make mistakes. I do too. My children are technically grown. Well, one of them is grown, but we still make mistakes. And you have to be okay. You have to accept the fact that, okay, I made some mistakes, but you are doing the best that you can. You're using the tools that you were given, right? And so I would also say that know your child. All children are different. Don't compare your children, first of all. You cannot do that. But know your child. Look for those gifts that they might have and try to nurture those gifts, right? You see that your child is interested in art or science or whatever it is, try to find programs or find ways that they can participate in those areas, because you never know what kind of exposure they might get and what that might do for them, right? And don't use your socioeconomic status to be an excuse to not push your kids. I don't want you to ever feel that if you're not making a lot of money, that your kids don't have it in your head that your kids are not going to be successful or they're not going to be able to go to college. It is possible. You just have to start early planning, right? The earlier, the better. But let's say you have a child that's already in high school and you have not began to plan. It's never too late, okay? Now, if your child is a senior, at this point, there are still scholarships that you can apply for. But of course, testing and things like that, all of that is important really the years prior to their senior year. But pat yourself on the back. Try to find people that you feel will be good mentors for your children. If it's things that you don't know, try to talk to people and find somebody that will have some information that might help you. I always try to talk to people and try to find out things about them. And in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, okay, how is it that this person, and let me not make it seem like I'm using people, but how is it that whatever this person knows, how can that benefit me or my community? That's how I think. So if you don't know, try to find people that you feel will know and get information. And just try to put yourself out there, because there's so many programs out there. Definitely keep your kids involved in church. Don't depend on those counselors. Let me say that again. Don't depend on your child's counselors to get them where they need to go. Ask those questions. And if you're not sure, check the Board of Education for your school district, and it'll tell you what requirements are for your kids to graduate. You make sure that your kids are on the right track, especially if you have a child that you feel needs to be accelerated. It is up to you to go to those counselors or whoever, the representatives at the school and say, look, I'm not sure if my child is in the right class. Show me where, give me a list of the options here to ensure that your kids are where they need to be and they're getting what they need to get. And don't feel bad about going over someone's head if you have to, right? Because we are our kids' advocate, our first advocate. Okay. I'm sorry. I know I got I got long-winded, but
That's okay. Amen, amen, and amen. Well, Diedra, it has been a pleasure. And just for you guys who may be wondering, Diedra has been an educator for over 20 years now.
Yeah.
But I don't want you to think, oh, she's an educator and so she knows this or that. She had to do the research too.
Yes.
She had to go and be an advocate for her child. And so I hope that you feel affirmed in whatever stage you are with your child, whether they be in elementary school or seniors in high school, and go check out that page. It's great information. So again, Diedra, thank you so very much for being with us.
You're welcome.